All right, let's get started here. We're going to jump into the You Can Make It webinar, reminding everybody that this is an interactive learning experience. Every once in a while, I'll get somebody will tag me in a post and say, just stick to your agenda. I don't stick to my agenda. Do you know how many people do actual live webinars every week? Not very many. And so I think the fact that you have taken time out of your schedule to be here makes you number one in my book. And if you have a question, we're going to park and you're going to learn that. This is an interactive learning experience, okay? I'm committed to doing that. If not, I just record videos because I record videos. I have a library of over 1,800 videos that I've done. If you just wanted video, that'd be fine. But this is to be an interactive learning experience. You don't understand something I said, you stop me, and we'll figure it out as we go. Okay. So I'm going to take some things taken from the Youzigners users group, and we'll talk about them for just a minute. That's how we get started each and every week. So this question was asked about the clone tool. And I have to admit, of all of the thousands of designs that I've created in Youzigners, and I have 2 different platforms and they have all kinds of stuff on them, I didn't know we could clone. I literally didn't know we could clone. That's how necessary that tool has been for me. I didn't know we could even do that. So I had to take a look at it and see what in the world was going on. And after having seen what it does, I'm like, okay, that's what we do anyhow. So we'll go to that dashboard and talk about that just a little bit. But this was an eye opener for me. Been doing these webinars now for what, three and a half years. I didn't even know we could clone stuff. So that was pretty cool when he said clone. Hello, I have a clone, an item on the dashboard. I didn't know you could clone an item on the dashboard. So anyhow, that was quite the experience for me. A little announcement here that y'all need to pay careful attention to. Rose is encouraging people, and we talk about communication channels a lot, and the users group is not a place to ask support questions about accounts, billing, technical issues, those kinds of things. That's also not what we do in this webinar. I can help you with some minor stuff, but for the most part, use the group to see if a question has been asked before you post it. I actually posted the answer to a group in the group one day, and somebody said, well, I'll wait for support to get back with me. So now you've put it in the group, and you've also sent a ticket to support. We've answered it in exactly the same way it's going to be answered. I answered it in the same way it's going to be answered in support. You're only creating mass confusion when you do that. Because of some things that have happened in the country where the people that provide much of our support happen, we're a little short-staffed right now. So take that into consideration and don't be sending a whole bunch of emails over and over and over again. Multiple and duplicate tickets drive me crazy. I spend a couple of hours a week on a support desk for a different platform, and I cannot believe how many times somebody will send 4 tickets within a 1-hour period of time. Please don't do that to support people. It drives us nuts, and it doesn't help. It doesn't get your question answered any faster. All it does is it makes mass confusion. Okay, so just a little reminder, be courteous and support, and just take that into consideration when you go. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Let's be really careful. We can work stuff out. I have people send me messages frequently in the middle of the night asking questions, and I'm more than willing to help. I really am. But when it's something really simple, let's think about it first. Just for a little bit, let's just think about it for a moment. For example, on this post this morning in the Youzigners group, this is from last week, but on this post, somebody said, so was there a change to the background erase tool? Please just open it up and look at it. I mean, just open it up and look at it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to ask a question about that. Just go look at it and you'll see. Watch the webinar and you'll see. We covered that in the webinar. Just focus your attention on being successful and not being a distraction and expecting somebody to hold your hand and walk you through that. I know this is kind of a never-ending bucket of soapbox or whatever you want to call it, but I'm getting what I'm calling a learned helplessness from these things, and it's like, no, don't. Well, it was easier to ask you than it was to click. No, it isn't. Please just learn it for yourself. The next thing is, and I'm going to come back to. We're going to get to these icons. Elle had posted this, and there's an amazing use of icons here. And I just thought this was an absolutely beautiful image that she did. Love the way she made the flower here out of the leaves being made from the dollars, and everything that you see right here, everything is inside of the Usign vector images area on your dashboard, which is what Melody was talking about here. And I love her comment. And I pulled this, she made this post a long time ago, but I grabbed this comment this morning because I wanted you to see this. She said this: I got a chance to zone out a bit with Usign this morning. How many times do I tell you, just take a little time and play? Not when you're under pressure to do something, not when you've got to get something knocked out. Just take some time to play. Hello, Sharon. And if you take a little time to play, it's amazing what you learn and what you discover and what you find. For example, in this particular case, Melody learned that you can change the colors of the icons. And I blame myself for that. I probably haven't talked about that because for me it seemed pretty obvious. But so I was aware of the fact that there's something else that we need to address. And yet you see that over here, Elle did a masterful job of this. She did a masterful job of taking those icons and creating something amazing out of them. And so if you'll just take a little time and zone out, not when you're under the pressure to do something, not when you have to get something put out, but when you just take a few minutes to explore what's there. And there's nothing quite to be compared to just exploring what you have on the platform. That's how you get mastery. That's how you push the limits of what you have. And I can't encourage you to do that enough. Melody said that she did it and she discovered something that she didn't know. And if you just take some time to do that, you may find some things that are really pretty amazing. For example, and we'll talk about this again today and then we'll be done. But for example, when I took this image into the background removal tool, boom, all of a sudden the whole background went away, right? It's now got an artificial intelligence engine that says, I already know what they want to remove, and so we're going to remove it. Before it was just basically an erase tool and you had to designate that. But this is just awesome. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways that I use that today. And this is what happens when you use the platform. You discover things that you didn't know were there. And there is another tool that's identical to this that has a monthly fee attached to it. And I can't tell you how many times when somebody asked about erasing a background, somebody recommended that they go purchase that tool. It's this one. Just use what you have. Oh, I didn't know we had an erase tool. That's what the eraser icon's for. So, but this has become an incredibly powerful tool. All the time I'm reminding you of something. All the time. Does anybody know what's the one thing I talk about a lot? This is a quick quiz. See if I've mentioned it enough to make an impression upon you. Somebody tell me what it is that I'm always talking about how important this is. Yeah, Clickology is one of those. Yeah, exactly. Just click the button and find out. We'll show you when we get to the canvas. But who knows what I'm always telling you will help you more than anything else. More than anything else. It's if you'll learn one very simple thing, and that is to begin with the end in mind. Bingo, Joy, you've got that. Begin with the end in mind. Now, this is really an interesting test. Really an interesting test. This is exactly the same image that you have silhouetted over here. Who would have thought that this would be the silhouette of this? Now, obviously, that picture is powerful. The one on the left is powerful because of what? Somebody's mentioned it already in the comments. But what makes that image so powerful? The expression. The thing that makes Tyson's images so impressive is the expression. And his expression is never going to show up in a silhouette. Never. And I have to keep that in mind, right? If I'm going to create a silhouette, I've got to realize that there's a whole bunch of things that are not going to be there. The eyes are not going to be in a silhouette. This goofy expression that he is famous for is not going to be in a silhouette. In fact, there's going to be several things that are not going to be in the silhouette. The fact that he's a huge Chiefs fan is not going to be in the silhouette. If I know what my end is, if I'm expecting to create a silhouette and I want to capture any of those things, I might as well do something else. Begin with the end in mind. Always know what it is that you want to achieve and what will help you to achieve that. The truth is, this image right here, I don't know whether that boy is facing me or facing the Eiffel Tower. Sharon, I have no idea what you just posted. But if you begin with the end in mind, this has a very different look than this does. It's a very different look than this does right here. But I knew I would be able to achieve this because I knew what this, I had my end in mind. Thank you, Kim. All right, real quick, I want to do this one more time. That is, I'm going to ask this poll so I can plan for, I'm planning for next week is what I'm trying to do here. How many of you got the ISO creator? And if you did, give me a number 7, because I've seen several people ask for it in the group in the last 10 days or so. How many of you got the ISO creator? I'm not going to explain what it is. I want to know how many of you got it. All right, probably what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to take just a few minutes next week, and I'm going to show you what it is, where it's at, and so on. Alex, if it's that deep of a debate, I can't help you. All right, something that comes up all the time, and I mean literally all the time, that can be really, really helpful to you is if you're not getting exactly the kind of results that you think you should get, clear your cache. If you're not getting the results that you think you should get, clear your cache. If you're not getting the results that you think you should get, clear your cache. If you're not able to load a template, clear your cache. If you're not seeing the kind of results that you think you should be getting, clear your cache. Last week, we talked about the same kind of thing, and don't use system fonts, because you can't do what I just did right here with the system font inside of Designer. I can't turn the text sideways. I can't do those kinds of things. So if I'm not getting that result, then don't use a system font. Use the fonts that are inside, that are native to the app, because that makes all the difference in the world. But if you're having an issue, clear your cache. Now, I've made a video on how to do this. I've actually shown how to do it. When we get to the canvas, I'm going to show you how to do it again. But but this is the reason why you'll see me on a little soapbox every once in a while. There you go. This is the reason why I have a tendency to get on a bit of a soapbox, and this is the reason. I made a video that's 47 seconds long showing how to clear the cache, and the cache is a browser cache, right? So it's the browser cache that you're clearing. And I made a 47-second video from inside of Chrome on how to clear the browser cache. I made it while my browser was parked on a Facebook page, because that's where the person originally had asked the question. So I just quickly turned on my video recorder and I recorded the demo of how to clear the cache. 1 out of 4 people will say, what does Facebook have to do with it? 1 out of 4. They don't listen to the video. They see the fact that I'm parked on Facebook and they think I've sent them the wrong video. They won't listen for 47 seconds. That's the reason why you'll hear me a little frustrated sometimes, is because what are you thinking? 47 seconds, watch the video. 1 out of 4, and I've kept track, will say, I don't understand why you sent me a video about Facebook. It's not a video about Facebook. It's a video about how to clear your browser cache. I just happened to have my browser was on Facebook. Clear your cache. I'll show you how to do that when we get to the canvas in just a moment. Okay? Everybody understand what I'm talking about when I say clear your cache? Because we did this 6 months ago. Tom, you're too funny. We did this on Facebook. I'm sorry. We did this in this group about, I don't know, 6 months ago, a year ago, something like that. And half the people didn't know how to do it. So I'm glad at least we're catching up. And every time I start a webinar somewhere else, Melody will ask me just as I get ready to start, did you clear your cache? So yes, Melody. Okay. Last thing is that we're going to talk about vectors today. I've been promising you we talk about vectors, and all the rest of this stuff all leads to talking about vectors. I'm going to spend a little bit of time with the background erase tool, then we'll be done with that forever. And then we're going to talk a little bit about vectors and some things that you can do from a vector standpoint that are extremely helpful. Okay? All right, does that sound good to everybody? I'm going to give you some tips and tricks I think will be helpful, and then I'll address any of the questions that you might have. All right, give me a second here so I can change my screen. And I will do that, and then we will begin. All right, are y'all seeing my screen now? Should be looking at my designer screen here. All right, the first thing on the Chrome browser, and by the way, Chrome should be the browser that you're using. For those of you who are trying to use something else, good luck. I'm going to give them to you in order of the best to the worst experience. The best experience is Chrome. If you're trying to have a good experience using anything that is browser based, like Usign, Designer, ClickFunnels, Demio, webinar platforms, anything that's totally browser based, then your number one best experience is going to be from Chrome. And number 2 will be Firefox. And number 3 and it's pretty far down on the list. The first two are Chrome or a Chrome product, and right behind that's Firefox, and then a pretty distant third is Safari. And then if you just really want to walk out on that plank over the Grand Canyon and jump off, try to use Edge. There's a reason why they call that browser Edge. It doesn't work so good. It doesn't play nice with these types of products, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? All right, I'm going to show you where to clear your cache at and how to clear it. You get this off the way over here so it's out of the way. And I'm going to do something else that you can do. If you're finding it difficult to see your buttons, you can reduce the screen size, okay? That will also help you. And you have the ability to do that right there inside of here. So down here under More Tools, click on More Tools, and then it's Clear Browsing Data. And when this screen opens, the only thing you don't want to clear your browsing history, because that will delete all of the other stuff. All you want to do is clear the cookies from other site data, and you want to clear the cache images and files. Okay. Yeah, that's totally true. Listen, if you knew all of the politics that were involved in why those things don't work, then you'd understand. But it's like, I don't want to get into that because I was having a good day. I don't want to do that. But all you want to do is clear your data here from these two spots right here, and you don't really even need, if you're just trying to do this, you don't even need to clear the cookies. You just need to clear this, okay? And you'll have an amazingly good experience if you just learn to do that on occasion. And make sure you just clear that. It takes just a couple of seconds to do that. If it takes any longer than that, then something went really wanky on you. I always refer to the browser cache like it's a trailer on the back of a truck, and I'm making deliveries. And as I make those deliveries and I run around, make the deliveries, pretty soon this stuff that was so well organized in the back of the truck gets to be a mess, and it's taking me longer and longer and longer to find things. And consequently, I may not find the thing that I'm looking for. And that's exactly what happens with the browser cache. Your browser carries all of that stuff, all of your experience when you're in Usign here, carries all of that experience over to your browser. And then as you use it, it starts to get moved around. It's you say, oh, wait a minute, I needed to go over here and find the background removal tool for this. And so I click on this, and then the next thing you do is you upload an image. And then the next thing that you do is you save that and you move to something else. And all of a sudden you started shuffling around the boxes in that trailer, and it can't find your stuff anymore. Is that clear to everybody? So if you're not getting the experience you were looking for, just clear the cache. It's kind of like pulling into the Quick Trip and rearranging your trailer. It'll make your life go much, much easier in the future. All right. So over the weekend, I created a simple little system for a product right here that I needed to do. I'm gonna start at the beginning with this, okay? Because I wanted to use this for the background removal tool and show you something. This is it right here. And when I take this over here, this is the erase background tool right here. Do you see that? When I click on the erase background tool, and when it says initializing, what it's doing is it's trying to figure out which one's the foreground, which one's the background. All right. So it has found the foreground image and removed the background image. The only spot that it did not remove is right here between the thumb and the side of the iPhone. And so what I'm going to do, and all I have to do is go up here, click on I've got my erase tool identified here, the red button for erase tool, make that a tiny dot and put that tiny dot in the spot between the thumb and the iPhone, and there you go. All right. Very simple, very fast, seconds now. to erase a background. Before, I had to identify all of the colors that were here, and I had to make sure that I had designated that properly. If all you want to do is erase the background, then this tool is amazingly fast now. And it used to be that there were some other things that were kind of catching up with it on the market. I think we're now back at the point where I think it's going to be right there. Okay. Tom said sometimes on larger, I make the image larger to get into the small spots. Remember this when you do this, and I will say that I do exactly the same thing, Tom. If I enlarge this, now, do y'all see, go back over here to this. Can y'all see the size? It might be easier if I'm over here. Can you see how tiny my red dot is at about 11 o'clock above that, above the erase tool? You see that? Watch what happens when I enlarge this to get into that smaller spot. Okay. I still have a tiny spot right here, and I don't see anything here. So we now have the ability to be able to make that a lot smaller. It's still the little bitty spot. Like I can get in here and get a little bit tighter in there if I wanted to, or maybe not. Am I getting any better? Yeah, there we go. There we go. It's a little slow. But I always have to ask myself the question, at what point does enough become enough? And what I'm going to do with this, and then you just click on, and you can do this. I can put a different colored background on it if I wanted to. I could use a background like that. Not necessarily that I'm going to do that. But when I do that, do you see how much easier it is for this spot right here to show up? So sometimes it's handy to do that. But always if you're removing the background, always want to go back to the background colors being transparent. Save it as done. And you can see that's this image right here, okay? So in this case, I use this on a gray gradient background, and it looks fine, right? A little shadow right there. Not really even sure where that comes from because that's not in the, it is in the original a little bit. So must be the color of the outside of the case or something like that. Anyhow, do you understand what we're doing here? You see where that background erase tool is at. Now I'm going to delete a couple of these things here, and you can see something else that people do frequently, and this is a frequent comment that's made, is that if I wanted to save this as a transparent background and use it someplace, and I did, I actually used it in my sales page, and I wanted this to have a background that blends into my sales page. So I need to put that on a transparent background. I go over to the background, click solid, and make that transparent. And now when I save it, I need to save it as a PNG file and not as a JPEG, because if I save it as a PNG file, obviously what I would do is I would crop that and make it tighter, but I save it as a PNG file rather than a JPEG because a PNG file can be transparent in the background. Does that make sense to everybody? I know this is old stuff for a whole bunch of you, but for those of you who are asking where the erase tool was at, I thought it would be a good idea to run through the stuff that we needed to discuss on the erase tool. There's one more thing that I will do here. I purposely didn't do it last week because I wanted you to see this. If I go in the tool here, I can turn the auto clip off. And notice it doesn't automatically identify the background. Yeah, JPEG cannot have a transparent background. Only a PNG file can have a transparent background. But the auto clip does this, okay? That makes sense? And the auto clip can come in handy if we wanted to make that And I went through all of the labor of it last week so I could show you what you have to do in order to make that happen. But if I wanted to make this, instead I wanted to make this a silhouette for whatever reason I'd want to do that, I could identify this background here now and come over here, and I could begin to create a silhouette look. See? That's where that auto clip becomes handy. And I could erase the picture on the phone if I want to make a mock-up. Good point. Exactly. Let's refresh and we can do this as well. All right. Like that. Now I could, I've got this up in the black up here, but yeah, you could change the. We do this quite a bit. We've done several webinars on cutting out images and things like that. And you can find some really cool images that you can do this with. Go over here. One of my favorites is you can take a barn. No, all I'm getting now is barn owls. That's really helpful. I'm looking for a barn. I'm getting barnyard. Oh, some days Pixabay has interesting. Somebody said red barn, so let's try that. You're about to see the reason why people don't do live webinars. All right, this will work right here. I'll use this one right here. All right, let's put that image full size right here. Now, what I want to do, take my erase tool. All right, it has anticipated, because there's nothing else there, it has really jacked that up. So what I want to do is that. All right, we'll go back to the original image itself. And what I want to do is remove this section right here. Okay. So I'll put the green up here. And I want to remove that. Now we're going to save that. And because I don't have anything else, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to send that backwards like that. What an amazing Halloween picture, right? I actually put him in the barn. Can you see that? I've used my layer tool right here, and I've moved him from being on top to being in the background. I do have to sometimes make that just a little bit smaller though. Let's see if we can get this smaller so it works better. And now I'm going to put that like right there, and we'll move the barn back in the picture. Right? Makes sense to everybody? So yeah, that background tool gives you the ability to do really a whole bunch of cool stuff like that. And with a little bit of creativity, you can make it pretty amazing. One more kind of fun thing. Actually, this is a pretty cool looking image when it's full size. That's from a previous one. This right here is an interesting challenge. I love to put things inside of the coffee cup. All right. And so if I want to put that inside the coffee cup, it's anticipating what I want to do here, right? So it's clipped that. Now let's go over here and clip the inside of this. And then I'm going to show you an easier way in just a second. Although that's pretty easy now. So now I've saved that. I left a little stuff in the middle of it, but I've saved it. Another thing for everybody to remember is if I want to crop this and make this a little bit, I'm in a really big image now. It's 1200 by 628. Go to custom size, and now I can crop that. I can make it tighter here. And we're literally just going to put a picture together, okay? So I'm going to go over here to the background tool. Oh, forgot to do this. Go over here to the background tool. Grab an image for a background. Right there. Now. All right, you with me so far? I would probably want this to be like that. Okay, y'all got that? Now I can go back over here to my uploads and see if I can find the one thing that's difficult for us to do is, and I'll show you in just a second. All right. While that's Tyson on a rounded image, I've got one problem. Does anybody know what the problem is? So I can put him inside of here like this. All right. But I've got another issue here. And what is, somebody tell me what my issue is. I need to add a background, but the problem that I'm going to have adding the background, I'm going to go over here to graphics. I'm going to grab a vector. And I'll show you what the problem is, okay? The angle is not right. You're exactly right. That's the point I was trying to make. All right, we'll go down here. We'll grab a shape, and I'll show you why, okay? See, this is easy enough to do. Take my layer tool, and I send that backwards like that. That's easy enough to do. The problem is it's never going to look right because the angle is not right. So if you want to do something like this, the best way to do it, back over to the uploads, is with an image like that. So now I can actually take this image and with the layer tool, I bring it to the front. Like that. So you're better off taking an image. If again, we did 2 weeks on perspective, and we may do another one. But you need to, again, you have to begin with the end in mind. What is my end result? How do I want my outcome to be? And make sure that your perspective is correct. Okay. And the perspective needs, in this case, the perspective straight on. The other way, I would have to take my camera angle at a different direction in order to do that. Okay. But a great way to use your background erase tool, because it allows you to be able to do some really cool stuff like this. Okay. All right. Any questions about that? All right. Then let's talk about the vector images in the time that we have left. This, by the way, is one of those. But when we come over here to the graphics, when we click on the vector images, we have all of these. Let me get this out of the background. And I'm going to do one thing. Let me grab an image here, and I'm going to show you a couple of really cool tricks. All right. Let me go down here and grab looking for an interesting color here. Let's just do this. See the color of this shirt? I kind of think the color of that shirt's pretty cool. So what I want to do is I'm going to take a vector image. I'm going to drop on here like that. So I'm going to make this the color of this shirt. And this is that little color picker tool that changes the color of your vector images, right? When I click on this, and I click on this little custom tool right here, I'm given an eyedropper that allows me to pick the color of that shirt. From in here, right there. All right. So now I have the color of this shirt, right? Y'all with me? You say, why in the world would you do that? Well, let's just assume for a moment that I'm wanting to do something that's going to be a close match to the color of that shirt. So now I have selected that color and I put it on this vector image. I click over here and this is the color, right? Click on this. Let's see, that should show up right here. Where's it at? Let's do the recent. Doesn't show up. Or is that's not it. That's not it. Is that it? No, that's not it. So let's go back to our color picker because I was trying to save the color. That's it right there. Okay, there's two ways to do this, but I thought we'd be able to save it right here under the recent. And it should show up as a recent right here. So it's not. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because, let me show you. There's my color. That's the color that I want, right? Oh, crud. This is why you don't do live webinars, right? That's what I was after, was the hex code. But see, it always changes the color back over here when I do that. Anyhow, what I wanted to do was to show you that that color. We're just going to save this for right now because I want you to see what else you can do. Move this off screen over here. I can just save this. Get rid of this. And now I come over here to these vector images. This happened to be the one that Melody talked about in her in her post. All right. So this is the guy in that post. And I want this shirt to be the same color. All right. Bring that to the front. Click on this. Come up here. That's that color right there. Right? Click on this. I've now made that shirt the same color. Are you with me? What else can I do? There's more I can do with this. Let's go back to the same image again. We'll grab it, pull it off screen. And this time, I'm going to take this. And now, I want to match up the skin color. Right? And now, this is the hair color right here. So don't anybody laugh at me here. You understand how easy that was to create? Is that out of the way? Yeah, add the beard. Good luck with that. But the point is this, that when I'm in my vector images over here, I can literally recreate colors from something else and keep them kind of the same, right? If I wanted to take those same, let's go back to the same thing that we had before. If I wanted to take this, all right. Now, there's a couple of things I could do with this, all right. I'm going to take a text and grab this text image right here. And now, I'm saving this for a reason. All right, grab this text image right here. And I want my color to match that. And so I'm going to call this all right, now I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to take my color picker right here and use that. And this is going to be y'all with me? And I'll do this one more time. And this time it's going to be my shirt color. Take my color picker and make that match. Delete this. Delete that. Take my background. And listen, I've done done this several times. See, it wasn't intended to be me. It was just somebody who was pretending to be me, because you will never find a picture of me without facial hair. But if I wanted to save these 3 colors now, this is what I'm going to do, okay? I'm up here, hold down my shift key. I'm going to group those together. Save the group. Over here to graphics, go back, go to groups, and I have them saved, right? Until I get finished with my project, and I always know what those colors are. I've done that building logos for companies. I've done that for, I want this special color, and we use the color picker. We grab the picker color, and then we save it, or we save the 2 colors they want out of that. Can you take the color of that bridge and the color of the sky right there? Yes, I can do that. And I've created a really, really quick little color palette. And then whatever I want to do, let's just go back to one more vector over here. Let's take a logo, because we said we were going to use the logo. Let's take the logo for a minute. Let's take the logo. We'll take this group and move it down here. And we're going to now ungroup this. Notice it's grouped up here, okay? Because I've got this vector image here, and I've got this text image right here. Saving the groups is one of the handiest things that you can do. So now I'm going to ungroup this. When I ungroup it, I've got the text, and I have the image. All right. When I click on the image, I notice I have 4 color options in the image. So let's pick this one right here. We'll take my color picker. We'll run over. We'll make that one that color. All right. Back over here. I've made it that color, that facial color. Let's make this other ring that same facial color. Okay. Are you with me? You see how handy that becomes then? And I go back over here. I pretty much take the path of least resistance for most things. Now, I'm going to take the first half of this, and I'm going to use this color. And then I'm going to take the back half of this, and I'm going to use the color that it came with. Everybody understand how simple that was to do? I took the colors from a picture taken several years ago with me and Tyson, saved those colors, and then reproduced them back in a logo. Client says to you, I'd really like to have my logo to match this, and it'll be a picture of them at Christmas time or something. And you can do what I just did, identify those, and then put them in their logo. And the old hippie said, how cool is that? Well, Sharon, what was difficult about that? There really wasn't anything difficult about it. I used the color picker and saved the colors. I saved the colors someplace that was easy for me to retrieve. I think if you go back and take a look at that comment made by Melody, it's really helpful. Melody said, I'll borrow an Australian expression, I just had to play with it. And if you just take a little time and play with it, you'll be amazed at what comes out.